A corrupt prosecutor smirks at a black woman's costume, not realizing it's a decorated Navy Admiral uniform. But that prosecutor, a man who believed himself a king, just made the biggest mistake of his career. This is the story of how one man's arrogance led to his complete and total destruction. The courtroom is a kingdom, and Assistant District Attorney Marcus Thorne is its undisputed monarch. He reigns not from the bench, but from the prosecutor's table, a slab of polished mahogany that serves as his throne. The air in Department 12 is his to breathe, thick with the scent of old paper, floor polish, and fear. He cultivates that fear. It is the soil in which his victories grow, watered with the tears of the accused and fertilized by the shattered confidence of public defenders. Thorne is a man carved from granite and prejudice. His suits are tailored to perfection, sharp enough to cut, always a shade of charcoal or midnight blue that makes his presence feel like a gathering storm. His silver hair is a helmet of control, each strand disciplined into submission. When he speaks, his voice is a low thunder that rolls through the cavernous room, a sound designed to make defendants feel small, to make juries believe his words are etched in stone tablets delivered from on high. Today, he feels the familiar thrum of power in his veins. It is a simple case. A possession with intent to sell. A young black man, Jamal Hayes, caught on the wrong corner at the wrong time. The evidence is flimsy, the arresting officers report a masterwork of creative writing, but that hardly matters. In Thorne's kingdom, the narrative is king, and he is the sole author. He scans the gallery, a bored emperor surveying his subjects. The usual collection of worried mothers, nervous girlfriends, and the grimly curious. Then his eyes land on her. She sits in the front row, directly behind the defense table. A black woman, posture ramrod straight, a study in stillness. But it is her attire that snags his attention, pulling a thread of contempt through the fabric of his arrogance. She is wearing a costume. It is a ridiculous ensemble, a pristine white uniform jacket adorned with an absurd amount of gold braid on the sleeves and a constellation of colorful ribbons and medals on the chest. The matching white hat rests in her lap, held by gloved hands. It is theatrical. It is preposterous. It is, to Marcus Thorne, a profound insult to the sanctity of his courtroom. He sees it as a desperate, amateurish ploy. A pathetic attempt to curry favor, to project an image of respectability that is, in his mind, utterly unearned. He imagines the conversation. "Wear this, Mama. It'll make them think we're good peoples." He almost laughs aloud. He turns his gaze to the boy at the defense table. Jamal Hayes. 19. Scared. Dressed in an ill-fitting suit provided by his public defender, a young, perpetually overwhelmed woman named Sarah Jenkins. The boy looks like a child playing dress-up. Just like the woman in the front row. A slow, cruel smirk spreads across Thorne's face. Oh, this will be fun. He will not just win this case. He will make an example of them. He will strip them of this pathetic, costume dignity and show them what real power looks like. Admiral Evelyn Reed watches Marcus Thorne. She has seen men like him before. On naval bases, in foreign embassies, in the halls of the Pentagon. Men who mistake their position for personal greatness. Men who puff up their chests and wield their authority like a club, blind to the fact that true power is quiet, precise, and earned through service, not seized through intimidation. She sits perfectly still, her spine a column of steel forged over 35 years of service to her country. Every medal pinned to her chest tells a story. The Defense Distinguished Service Medal. The Navy Distinguished Service Medal. The Legion of Merit. The Bronze Star. They are not decorations, they are scars. They are testaments. They are a map of a life lived in the crucible of command. The uniform is not a costume. It is her skin. It is the embodiment of an oath she swore as a young woman and has honored every day since. She wears her service dress whites today for a specific reason. It is the uniform of ceremony, of gravitas. She wears it to show the court, to show the world, who Jamal Hayes is. Not by her rank, but by her presence. By showing that a person of her standing stands with him. Jamal is not her son by blood, but he is her son by choice. He is the brightest star in the youth leadership program she sponsors in her old neighborhood, a program designed to give boys like him a horizon beyond the street corner. Jamal was bound for Annapolis. He had her nomination. He had the grades, the heart, the fire. Then, 2 months ago, this. A trumped-up charge, a nightmare of planted evidence and a justice system that saw his skin color before it saw his potential. Evelyn had wanted to intervene immediately, to bring the full weight of her office, of her connections, to bear. But her legal counsel at the JG Corps had advised a different strategy. Wait. Observe. Let the system reveal its own corruption. Give Thorne enough rope. Let him construct his own gallows. So she sits. She waits. She endures the prosecutor's dismissive, contemptuous gaze. She feels his prejudice wash over her, a cold and familiar tide. And she prepares for battle. All rise, the bailiff drones. Judge Albright enters, a man whose judicial robe seems less a symbol of justice and more a comfortable blanket of complicity. He shares a nearly imperceptible nod with Thorne. A greeting between allies. Evelyn's eyes narrow. The corruption here is not just systemic, it is personal. The proceedings begin. A flurry of motions. Sarah Jenkins does her best, her voice thin but earnest, citing precedent and procedure. Thorne counters with effortless disdain, swatting away her arguments as if they were gnats. He barely even looks at her, directing his booming pronouncements to the judge, who laps them up with compliant rulings. Your Honor, the defense's motion to suppress is, frankly, an insult to the brave officers of the law, Thorne intones, his voice dripping with theatrical sincerity. It is a desperate fishing expedition based on baseless accusations. I'm inclined to agree, Mr. Thorne, Albright murmurs. Motion denied. Sarah Jenkins slumps, another small defeat in a war she was losing before it even began. Thorne allows himself a moment to savor it. He glances back at the woman in the uniform. Her expression is unreadable, a mask of calm. It irritates him. He decides it is time to begin the lesson. He gestures grandly toward Jamal. And as for the defendant, Your Honor, the people will show that this young man is not the innocent babe his counsel would have you believe. He is a predator, a purveyor of poison in our communities. Jamal flinches as if struck. Evelyn sees the tremor run through his shoulders. Her hands, resting on the service cap in her lap, clench into fists. The white cotton of her glove strains at the seams. Thorne is not just arguing a case. He is enjoying this. He is feeding on their fear. He takes a slow step away from his table, moving into the open space of the courtroom, his stage. He turns his body slightly, not fully facing the woman, but making it clear she is now part of the performance. We see these desperate tactics all the time, Your Honor, he says, his voice now laced with a mocking pity. Attempts to manipulate the sympathies of the court. To create a spectacle. He pauses, letting the words hang in the silent room. He then looks directly at Evelyn Reed. We have family members showing up in costumes, dressed for a parade, as if that lends credibility to the criminal acts of their kin. The word hangs in the air. Costume. A gasp ripples through the gallery. Sarah Jenkins shoots to her feet. Objection, Your Honor. That is inappropriate and unprofessional. He is harassing a member of the gallery. Thorne chuckles, a low, ugly sound. Harassing? Counselor, I am merely making an observation about the theatre being presented for us today. Judge Albright waves a dismissive hand. I'll allow some latitude, Mr. Thorne. But let's keep it focused on the defendant. It is not a reprimand. It is an invitation. Thorne's smirk widens. He has the judge's blessing. The leash is off. He turns his full attention to Evelyn. He looks her up and down, a slow, insolent appraisal that is meant to strip her bare. He says, the honorific dripping with sarcasm. I appreciate the effort, I really do. But this is a court of law, not a movie set. What are you supposed to be? The queen of some Caribbean nation? A pilot for a cruise ship? Laughter, sycophantic and cruel, trickles from the corner where the arresting officers sit. Evelyn Reed does not move. Her eyes are locked on his. They are dark, deep, and suddenly as cold as the North Atlantic. In their depths, a storm is gathering. She had been advised to wait. But the plan has just changed. The man has just crossed a line from which there is no retreat. He is not just disrespecting her. He is disrespecting the uniform. He is disrespecting the flag it represents and every man and woman who has ever worn it. He is not just giving himself more rope. He is kicking the chair out from under his own feet. I must ask you to remove the hat, Thorne continues, his voice booming with false authority. And perhaps reconsider your attire for future proceedings. We maintain a certain decorum here. Your get-up is a distraction. Get up. The word is a physical blow. Evelyn feels it land. For a fleeting second, the disciplined calm she has cultivated for decades threatens to shatter. Rage, pure and white-hot, surges within her. The rage of a commander whose flag has been spat upon. The rage of a mentor whose protégé is being destroyed before her eyes. She reins it in. Control. Discipline. Strategy. Anger is a weapon, but only when it is cold. Jamal turns in his seat, his eyes wide with panic and pleading. Auntie, he whispers, the name a relic from his childhood. Don't. Please, he knows her temper. He knows the steel beneath the calm surface. She gives him the slightest shake of her head. A silent command. Stay calm. I have this. Sarah Jenkins is on her feet again, her face flushed with outrage. Your Honor, this is beyond the pale. The prosecutor is witness tampering, he is intimidating the defendant's family. This is grounds for a mistrial. Thorne laughs, a full-throated bark of derision. A mistrial? For a dress code violation? Counselor, you are even more naive than you look. Sit down before you embarrass yourself further. That's enough, Mr. Thorne, Judge Albright says, his tone bored. He looks at Evelyn. While the prosecutor's methods are theatrical, he has a point. Your uniform is unusual. Perhaps something more conventional tomorrow? The judge's casual dismissal is, in its own way, more insulting than Thorne's open hostility. Thorne is a bully. The judge is the system itself, rotted through with the same casual prejudice. Thorne, sensing victory, decides to press his advantage, to grind them into the dust. He walks toward the defense table, leaning in until his face is only a few feet from Jamal's. Let me be perfectly clear, son, he hisses, his voice a venomous whisper that carries through the silent courtroom. I am going to bury you. That scholarship you were so proud of? Gone. Your future? It will be a 10-by-12 cell in state prison. I am going to ask for the maximum sentence, and with your priors. He has no priors. Jenkins protests. A sealed juvenile infraction is still a prior in the court of public opinion, Counselor. And my opinion is the only one that matters here, Thorne sneers. I will make sure that by the time I am done with you, the only uniform you'll ever wear will be a bright orange jumpsuit. Do you understand me? Jamal shrinks back, his face a mask of terror. And that is the moment. The breaking point. The moral event horizon. Thorne has not just threatened a boy's future. He has drawn a direct, vile comparison between the uniform of a prisoner and the uniform of a United States Navy Admiral. Evelyn Reed rises from her seat. The movement is not sudden or aggressive. It is fluid, deliberate, and imbued with an authority that silences the room more effectively than any gavel. The air crackles. The temperature seems to drop. Marcus Thorne turns, an irritated scowl on his face, ready to order her to sit down. But the words die in his throat. The woman standing before him is not the same one who was sitting a moment ago. The mask of calm has been set aside, revealing a face of cold, absolute command. Her eyes are not angry. They are worse. They are assessing. They are judging. And they have found him wanting. Mr. Thorne, she says. Her voice is not loud, but it cuts through the silence like a shard of ice. It is a voice accustomed to being obeyed without question on the bridge of a warship in the heart of a storm. You have made a series of grave errors this morning. Thorne is momentarily stunned by her audacity. He recovers quickly, his arrogance reasserting itself. You are out of order. Bailiff, restrain this woman. The bailiff, a portly man named Henderson, takes a hesitant step forward. He stops dead when her eyes flick to him. It is a look that could freeze fire. I would not do that if I were you, Master-at-Arms, she says, her voice low and steady. The naval term is instinctual, a slip of the tongue from a lifetime of command. It matters little. The effect is the same. The bailiff freezes. Just then, the great double doors at the back of the courtroom burst open. They do not swing open gently. They are thrown open with a percussive boom that echoes like a cannon shot. Framed in the doorway are 4 figures. 2 are United States Marshals, their jackets emblazoned with the iconic star, their faces grim and unsmiling. Between them stands a man in a severe black suit, his jaw tight, his eye scanning the room with the predatory focus of a hawk. The 4th figure is a woman. She is tall, imposing, and wearing the uniform of a captain in the United States Navy's Judge Advocate General's Corps. Her own uniform is immaculate, her gaze sharp and intelligent. The room is plunged into a stunned, absolute silence. The man in the suit strides forward, his polished shoes clicking on the linoleum floor. He ignores the judge, ignores Thorne. He walks directly to Evelyn Reed. He stops 2 feet before her and executes a subtle, respectful nod. Admiral Reed, he says, his voice clear and resonant. My apologies for the delay. We encountered some jurisdictional reluctance. He shoots a venomous glare at Judge Albright. Admiral. The word detonates in the silent courtroom. Marcus Thorne's world tilts on its axis. His brain struggles to process the information, to reconcile the ridiculous costume with the impossible, cataclysmic title. Admiral? A Navy admiral? This woman. His face, which moments before had been a mask of smug superiority, drains of all color. A clammy sweat breaks out on his brow. The smirk is gone, replaced by a slack-jawed expression of pure, unadulterated horror. He looks from the man in the suit to the woman in white, his eyes wide with dawning comprehension. The ribbons on her chest are not costume jewelry. The gold on her sleeves is not braid from a fabric store. The woman he had mocked, belittled, and threatened is a flag officer in the United States Navy. He has not just made a fool of himself. He has insulted a 4-star admiral. He has committed professional suicide. Judge Albright pounds his gavel, a pathetic, tinny sound in the suddenly electrified atmosphere. What is the meaning of this intrusion? I am holding you all in contempt of court. The man in the suit turns to the bench, and his expression is one of utter contempt. He holds up a leather-bound credential case. Jonathan Price, Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division, United States Department of Justice. And you, Judge Albright, are in no position to hold anyone in contempt. The JAG captain steps forward, her eyes fixed on Sarah Jenkins. Captain Anya Sharma, JAG Corps. With the court's permission, or without it, I will be taking over as lead counsel for Mr. Hayes, effective immediately. Sarah Jenkins, looking stunned and immensely relieved, simply nods, sinking back into her chair. Thorne finds his voice, but it is a strangled, reedy thing. You can't. This is my case. This is my courtroom. Admiral Reed finally looks at him. Her expression is devoid of emotion. It is the look of a surgeon about to make a necessary, but deep, incision. Mr. Thorne, she says, her voice as calm as the ocean before a tsunami. Your authority in this room has been rescinded. You just haven't realized it yet. The power has not just shifted. It has undergone a tectonic reversal. The king is a king no more. He is just a man in an expensive suit, drowning in a sea of his own making. And the tide is coming in. Anya Sharma moves to the defense table with the crisp efficiency of a career military officer. She places a hand on Jamal's shoulder, a gesture of both reassurance and protection. She opens a sleek, military-grade laptop and plugs a flash drive into the court's evidence projector. "Your Honor," she begins, her voice a stark contrast to Thorne's bluster. It is calm, precise, and utterly lethal. "We will begin by withdrawing the previous defense motion to suppress and will instead be filing a motion to dismiss all charges against my client with prejudice." Thorne sputters, a fish on a hook. "On what grounds?" "The evidence is overwhelming." "The evidence," Captain Sharma says, her eyes flashing, "is fabricated. And the grounds for dismissal are gross prosecutorial misconduct, conspiracy to deprive a citizen of his civil rights, and a pattern of malicious prosecution originating from your office, Mr. Thorne." On the large screen behind her, an image appears. It is a satellite map of the block where Jamal was arrested. "Let us begin with the scene of the crime," Sharma continues. "Officer Miller and Officer Davis stated in their sworn report, a report you submitted as fact, Mr. Thorne, that they observed my client engaged in a hand-to-hand transaction from their patrol car parked across the street." "That's correct," Thorne says, trying to reclaim some semblance of control. "A clear line of sight." "Is it?" Sharma asks. She clicks a button. A red line appears on the map, tracing the supposed line of sight. It passes directly through a large, brick newsstand and a dense, mature oak tree that stands on the corner. According to city planning records and seasonal foliage analysis from the National Weather Service, that tree would have been in full leaf, completely obstructing the view. It would be impossible to see anything, let alone the details of a small transaction. She clicks again. A new video appears on the screen. It is security footage from a deli 2 doors down from the arrest site. The timestamp matches the police report. The officers also claimed their body cameras were malfunctioning, Sharma says. A convenient excuse. Fortunately, Goldstein's deli has a very high definition, and very functional, security system. The footage plays. It shows Jamal standing on the corner, looking at his phone. A car pulls up. A friend of his gets out. They bump fists. The friend hands him a textbook. Organic chemistry. They chat for less than a minute. The friend gets back in the car and drives away. At no point does any money or contraband exchange hands. This is Jamal's study partner from his community college chemistry class, Sharma explains, her voice cold as steel. "We have his sworn affidavit. This was the transaction your officers witnessed." Thorne's face is ashen. He looks frantically at the two officers, who are now studiously avoiding his gaze, their faces pale with fear. This could be doctored." Thorne stammers. "It has been certified by the FBI's Forensic Imaging Unit this morning, Mr. Thorne. It is 100% authentic." Jonathan Price cuts in from the side, his voice dripping with satisfaction. "Which is more than we can say for the evidence you were planning to present." Captain Sharma clicks to the next slide. It is a close-up photo of the baggie of narcotics that was allegedly found in Jamal's backpack. "Now, for the drugs themselves," she says. Officer Miller's report states he found this baggie in the front pocket of Mr. Hayes' backpack. "But let's look closer." She zooms in on the plastic bag. Barely visible, etched into the corner of the Ziploc seal, is a small sequence of numbers. "This is an evidence bag from the precinct's own property clerk's office," Sharma states. Specifically, it is from a batch that was logged as destroyed 3 months ago after the conclusion of the Moretti drug trafficking case. A case, I might add, that you prosecuted, Mr. Thorne. The room is silent, save for the sound of Thorne's ragged breathing. He is no longer just a bully caught in a lie. He is a criminal, his conspiracy laid bare for all to see. "It seems a bag from that destroyed batch," Sharma continues, twisting the knife, "miraculously found its way into Officer Davis's pocket, and from there, into my client's backpack. We have financial records, Mr. Price." "We do," the Assistant Attorney General confirms, stepping forward with a file. We have records of a series of untraceable cash deposits into Officer Davies' and Officer Miller's bank accounts, beginning 2 days after Jamal Hayes' arrest. The deposits stop once Mr. Thorne's office officially filed charges. A bonus, perhaps? For a job well done. Thorne stares at his 2 pet officers. Their betrayal is a palpable thing. He sees one of them, Miller, make eye contact with Jonathan Price and give a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. The rat is jumping from the sinking ship. Thorne's composure finally shatters. The carefully constructed facade of the untouchable prosecutor crumbles into dust, revealing the panicked, pathetic man beneath. Lies, he shrieks, his voice cracking. He points a trembling finger at Admiral Reed. This is her. She's using her power to frame me. This is a military coup in my courtroom. She's the criminal. Judge Albright, seeing his own career circling the drain alongside Thorne's, makes a last, desperate attempt to seize control. I agree. This is a gross overreach of federal and military power. I am declaring a mistrial and ordering these federal agents out of my court. Jonathan Price simply smiles. It is a chilling, predatory smile. That will be difficult, Judge Albright. Especially since the United States Marshals are not here to escort me. They are here for you. On cue, the 2 marshals move. One walks directly to the prosecutor's table, the other approaches the bench. Marcus Thorne, the first marshal, says, his voice flat and official. You are under arrest for conspiracy, fabrication of evidence, and subornation of perjury. The second marshal looks up at the judge. Arthur Albright, you are under arrest for conspiracy and accepting bribes. He holds up a thin file. We have the wire transfers from Thorne's judicial slush fund to your offshore account in the Caymans. It seems your nodding agreement came at a price. Thorne stares at the handcuffs in the marshal's hand. The metallic click as they are opened is the sound of his world ending. He looks wildly around the room, his eyes pleading. He finds no sympathy. The jury pool, the gallery, even his own clerks, all stare back at him with cold, unforgiving eyes. He turns his gaze back to Admiral Reed. She stands impassive, watching the destruction she has wrought. You, he spits, his voice thick with hate. You did this. You think you're so high and mighty in that ridiculous uniform. Captain Sharma steps forward. Mr. Thorne, I have one final piece of evidence to enter into the record. It's a phone call you made from your office yesterday afternoon to a colleague in the DA's office. A call that, under the federal warrant we secured, was being legally recorded. She presses a key on her laptop. Thorne's own voice, smug and self-assured, fills the courtroom. It is a sound from another lifetime. Yeah, the Hayes kid. It's a slam dunk. The public defender is a lightweight, and the kid is terrified. Best part? His family sent some woman in a full-on musical theater getup. White suit, medals, the whole 9 yards. Like she's the Admiral of the freaking Salvation Army. I'm gonna have a field day with her tomorrow. I'll make her and that little thug regret the day they ever thought they could play dress-up in my world. The recording ends. The silence that follows is absolute. Thorne's own words have served as his final, damning epitaph. He has been condemned from his own mouth. The marshal snaps the first handcuff onto Thorne's wrist. The cold metal is a shock to his system. He tries to pull away, a pathetic, reflexive struggle. This is an outrage, he bellows, his voice a desperate roar. I am the law in this city. Admiral Reed takes a single step forward. She stops directly in front of him, her eyes meeting his. The entire courtroom holds its breath. No, Mr. Thorne, she says, her voice quiet but carrying the weight of a battleship's anchor. You were a bully with a badge. You confused fear with respect. You saw a young black man and you saw a statistic. You saw a decorated officer and you saw a costume. Your vision is fatally flawed. You see only what your prejudice allows. The second cuff clicks shut. It is a sound of finality. The marshals begin to lead him away, a broken, defeated man, As they pass her, Evelyn speaks one last time, her voice a blade of ice. "You wanted to see him in a uniform," she says, nodding toward the now weeping, relieved Jamal. "You will. He will wear the uniform of a midshipman at the United States Naval Academy. And you will wear the uniform of a federal inmate. Let's see which one of you wears it better." Thorne stumbles as if she had physically struck him. He is dragged from the courtroom, his kingdom now his tomb, the echoes of his own arrogance his only legacy. The marshal at the bench orders Judge Albright to step down. The judge, his face the color of old parchment, slowly, agonizingly, removes his black robe. He folds it and places it on the bench. It is a gesture of surrender. Stripped of his vestments, he is just a stooped, frightened old man. He too is led away in handcuffs. The courtroom erupts. Reporters who had been lurking in the gallery surge forward, shouting questions. Jamal rushes into Evelyn's arms, sobbing with relief and gratitude. She holds him tight, her gloved hand stroking the back of his head. "It's over, son," she whispers. "It's over. Your fight is done." Over the boy's shoulder, she meets the eyes of Jonathan Price. He gives her a solemn nod. Justice has been served. But the work, she knew, was far from over. The fallout was not merely a consequence, it was a cleansing fire. Marcus Thorne, stripped of his power and prestige, was a shadow of his former self. He tried to fight, hiring a high-priced defense attorney who spun tales of a deep-state conspiracy and military overreach. But the evidence was too vast, too damning. The recording of his own voice was played on every news channel for a week. His former allies, the officers and clerks and even other prosecutors, lined up to testify against him in exchange for leniency. His conviction was a foregone conclusion. The judge, a federal appointee with no patience for corrupt local officials, sentenced him to 25 years in a federal penitentiary with no possibility of parole. His law license was revoked, his name stricken from the rolls. His assets were seized to help pay the civil damages awarded to his many victims. The king was now a number, stripped of his tailored suits and given a simple orange jumpsuit. His kingdom had shrunk to the size of a concrete cell. Judge Arthur Albright, facing a mountain of evidence of bribery and judicial misconduct spanning a decade, took a plea deal. He received a sentence of 10 years and agreed to testify about the wider network of corruption within the city's justice system. His testimony brought down 2 other judges and a city councilman. He died in a low-security prison hospital 2 years into his sentence, a disgraced and forgotten man. Officers Miller and Davis, the architects of Jamal's framing, also took plea deals. They were sentenced to 5 years each and were permanently barred from ever serving in law enforcement again. Their testimony was crucial in securing Thorne's conviction, a final act of self-preservation that did nothing to cleanse the stain of their betrayal of the public trust. The heroes of the story found their own rewards. Jamal Hayes was not just exonerated, he was celebrated. The city, facing a massive federal lawsuit, settled with him for an amount that ensured he would never have to worry about money again. But he wanted more than money. He wanted to serve. He was granted a full pardon by the governor, his record wiped clean. A year later, he fulfilled his dream, accepting his appointment to the United States Naval Academy at Annapolis. He excelled, his experience having forged in him a resilience and a commitment to justice that set him apart. Sarah Jenkins, the overwhelmed public defender, was offered a position by Jonathan Price at the Department of Justice. She joined the Civil Rights Division, her passion for justice now backed by the full resources of the federal government. She became a fierce advocate for the wrongly accused, ensuring no one else would have to face a monster like Thorne with no one in their corner. And Admiral Evelyn Reed? She continued to serve, her reputation only enhanced by the quiet, decisive way she had dismantled a corrupt system. But the experience changed her? She saw with new clarity that her fight was not just on the seas, but in the courtrooms and communities back home. Using a portion of Jamal's settlement, which he insisted she accept, she established the Reed Justice Initiative, a non-profit dedicated to funding the legal defense of the indigent and exposing prosecutorial misconduct across the country. She became as feared in corrupt courthouses as she was on the decks of an enemy warship. The systemic change was the most profound victory. The entire district attorney's office was placed under a federal consent decree. A special task force, with oversight from the Department of Justice, was created to review every single felony conviction secured by Marcus Thorne over his 20-year career. The results were staggering. Dozens of wrongful convictions were overturned. Men and women who had lost decades of their lives to Thorne's ambition and prejudice were freed, their names cleared. The city paid out hundreds of millions in damages, a painful but necessary price for its long-standing complicity. The system had not been just tweaked, it had been broken down and rebuilt on a foundation of accountability. 2 years later, the ballroom of a downtown hotel is filled with a vibrant, hopeful energy. It is the first annual gala for the Reed Justice Initiative. The room is a mix of high-powered lawyers in tuxedos, grassroots activists in jeans, and the tearfully grateful faces of men and women freed by the initiative's work. On a small stage at the front of the room, a young man in the crisp, white uniform of a naval midshipman stands at a podium. He is poised, confident, his voice steady as he speaks. It is Jamal Hayes, home on leave from Annapolis. 2 years ago, I stood in a courtroom and was told that the only uniform I would ever wear would be orange, he says, his voice ringing with emotion. I was told my future was a prison cell. I believed it. Because the man who told me that had the power to make it true. He pauses, his eyes scanning the crowd until they find her. Admiral Reed sits at a front table, wearing a simple, elegant black gown. She is no longer in uniform, but the authority is still there, an aura of quiet strength that commands the room. She offers him a small, proud smile. But that man made a mistake, Jamal continues. He underestimated the woman who stood with me. He saw her uniform as a costume. He failed to see that it represented an oath. An oath to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that day, the enemy was in a courtroom, wearing a $1,000 suit and a 10-cent heart. The room erupts in applause. The Reed Justice Initiative exists because of that oath, Jamal says, his voice rising. It exists to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. It exists to hold power accountable. It exists to ensure that justice is not a commodity for the rich, but a right for all. He steps back from the podium to another round of thunderous applause. Evelyn watches him, her heart swelling with a pride so fierce it almost hurts. This was the victory. Not Thorne in a cage, but Jamal at a podium. Not the destruction of one man, but the creation of a generation of fighters inspired by his story. Later, as the event winds down, she stands on a balcony overlooking the city lights. The cool night air is a welcome relief. Jamal joins her, his face still flushed with the success of his speech. I meant every word, Auntie. I know you did, midshipman, she says, her use of his formal title a sign of her immense respect. They stand in comfortable silence for a moment, mentor and protege, their bond forged in the fires of injustice. Do you ever think about him? Jamal asks quietly. Evelyn looks out at the sprawling city, at the distant lights of the naval base across the bay. Thorne? No. He was a symptom, not the disease. The disease is arrogance. It is the belief that your power makes you infallible, that the people you step on are beneath your notice. That is the enemy we fight. Thorne was just one battle in a very long war. Arrogance is a fatal flaw. It blinds you. It deafens you. It convinces you that you are the king of the world, even as your kingdom is crumbling around you. Marcus Thorne believed his authority was absolute, his judgment unquestionable. He looked at a 4-star admiral and saw only a prop. He looked at an honorable young man and saw only a criminal. In the end, his prejudice was a prison of his own making, long before the federal government provided him with a physical one. True authority is not worn in a robe or shouted from a prosecutor's table. It is earned through integrity, wielded with humility, and proven through the unwavering defense of those who have no one else to defend them. That is the uniform that truly matters.